Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hello, welcome to episode 100.
Exciting, guys. We can't believe that it's episode 100.
So we're doing a special episode today. Maybe some people are listening to it on the normal podcast form, in the normal podcast form, but we're trying to make it special because it's episode 100. And so we're doing a video recording. So we're going to be putting it on our YouTube. So if you're listening to it and you want to see us, our beautiful faces, pop over to our YouTube and watch us and see our faces while we talk. Yeah.
Love this.
Okay. Episode 100. So, we thought we were talking with Lorraine about it and we're like, what should we talk about? And it's like the Akashic Records. Of course. That's why this whole freaking thing started anyways.
Yeah. This is the whole thing. Well, that and the fact that we kind of wanted to share ideas and be there for people and be like this kind of resource also for people not to feel alone in their spiritual journey. So it's a little bit of both, but the base definitely is the Akashic Records because I got that download for the podcast from the Akashic Records. It was wow, that's crazy. Like I still can't believe
we've done 100 episodes right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of what I'm good at, talking.
I'm not so good at that, but I've gotten better. Like even when we think back, like when we first started, it's kind of crazy. It's like I think this goes to show how you just have to start. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just start it. Just start doing the thing, whatever that is.
And then get out of your comfort zone.
And then
because it's going to feel uncomfortable in the beginning.
Always.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it feels normal now. It does feel more normal, but there's still things that I have to work through, like speaking up and saying things and using my voice for stuff. But I think also it's this idea of as you do it and as you practice more and more, you're going to get better at it because it's just practice. So there's no way you're going to get worse at it unless you don't like doing it. And then in that case, you probably shouldn't be doing it anyway. But I think there's something to that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm already actually, because I was thinking while you're talking, I was thinking where I wanted to start with all the things that we listed about talking about Akashic Records. And I thought to myself, I wonder if we should just talk about the library first. And then already, of course, the masters are already giving me their little,
of course,
their little thing. The history of the Akashic Records and what relationship it might have in difference with us, with other planets. So the first thing is to know that the Akashic Records existed before Earth existed, is what it's a little bit of history for them. The Akashic Records existed before Earth existed. I think that's why a lot of people would ask, like, oh, I want to know how old my soul is, or I want to know how many lifetimes it had. Usually the reference you're going to get is Earth-related. But actually our souls, not all of our souls, because there's some newer souls, I guess you can say, but many of our souls existed before Earth was fully blown created, right? So the Akashic Records existed before that as well. And so it registers the creation of the soul, and it registers also the life experience of the soul, which a lot of times is in other planets and began in other planets. Easier planets. Much easier planets. Yeah. So that's cool. I never thought about asking that, and they're giving me that little tidbit of history there to kind of add to today's super special episode.
I love it.
Yeah. And then so apparently, Earth was created, but the Akashic Records wasn't always here. It's been here for a very small amount of time compared to the existence of Earth in itself and the existence of the soul in itself. And they're telling me that it's not tapped into so other races, other planets, it's not really tapped into as much because we're beings that can't really fully access our own knowledge, or we're not so great at being I'm not just human, right? We're not so great at that.
Yeah.
And so we kind of need a nudge or a reminder to help us back on track and to help us kind of remind us of the great being, the great beings that we are, the expansive beings that we are, and the eternal beings that we are. And so they're saying that where they would consider us, so this is more of a opinion of the Akashic Records, right? They would consider us the planet that accesses the Akashic Records currently that needs it the most.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. So I mean, if there was like it's funny how they're showing it to me. If there was like a library card and it beeped you in every time you went in, right? There would be way more beeps. Like there'd be many more people registering to pop in on Earth than anywhere
Oh
else.
yeah, we need it here, especially now, and especially as time kind of
Yeah.
progresses and we move into what's coming in the future. It definitely feels like it's like we're all going to need some kind of tool. Maybe it's not the Akashic records for everybody, but everybody needs something. We all need something to lean on and to help us through all this so that we can connect to ourselves, our higher self, ourselves spiritually. It's going to
Yeah.
be super important. It definitely feels that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, okay, so we've talked about this before, but I thought it would be cool to kind of just talk over it and see if there's anything new that comes in. But the Akashic Records is the one that we access because I know there's like a lot of stories out there about like what dimension is Akashic Records on it. Okay, I don't care if it's in 25 dimensions or if it's in 50,000 dimensions or if it's only one. All I care about is the one that we as humans can access, and we can only access one. And that's the fifth dimensional one. So that's the one that we care about. That's the one we want to talk about. And that's the one, like, after that, it's just all stories. It doesn't really freaking matter if I got one up in the 11th or the 10th. Like, it doesn't really matter because I'm never going to be able to access it. At least Lucia, will never be able to access it in my lifetime. I don't know what's going to happen to Earth later on.
We
Maybe
don't know.
yeah, you don't know. But in my lifetime, I'm not going to be accessing anything, any Akashic Records library outside of the fifth.
Yeah.
So the fifth is there for us. And that's what we care about, right? The fifth is there to assist us humans. We're the ones that are beeping into that. We're the ones that are accessing the information. And so whether someone tells you that there's another one, it doesn't matter because your vibration, and anybody who's our student learns this and knows this, your vibration has to elevate a little and theirs has to come down a little, and you're meeting them in the middle, and the information is coming down and hitting your crown chakra and coming in and going through the process that we teach, right? You would never be able to go, oh, let me go all the way to the 11th. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, you'd lose your body. Like
Yeah.
death of the body.
Yeah.
Like unless it's astral travel, but then your consciousness is not fully there, and that's not actually a full-blown Akashic Records reading channel, which you're conscious and you're receiving information. So that's something else. You would never be able to do that. Maybe you can visit another level of Akashic Records on another dimension, but you can't do a
Mm.
reading.
That's why we say like even sleeping with your Akashic records open is tricky, right? Because people say, "Oh, I think I received something." It's like, yeah, but you're not fully there. You don't know where that information is coming from, how that's affecting you,
Yeah.
and you need to be fully conscious when you're receiving and downloading that information because that's what's going to help you. And if you're reading for somebody else, it's them being also very fully present while they're receiving the information and all the healing. So, yeah, I agree with everything you said there. It feels spot on.
And it's funny because I'm looking at the list of things that we wanted to talk about the Akashic Records. And one of the things I just put down in general was like readings. Like we can just literally talk about readings. I don't know. What do you want to talk about readings? The healing? Do you want to talk about what it's like? Is there
Yeah,
something you want?
I think maybe yeah, because we've already talked about our story. We've already kind of gotten into that, and we've talked about that several times, I think, on here. Um, yeah, I mean, level two, we're getting to the end of channeling all
This
level
week we're
two.
finishing the manual. Well, we're finishing channeling the manual this week, but then we have to do like the
A lot of other stuff.
grammar. Yeah.
Yeah, and setting everything up and
Yeah.
thinking about the dynamic of the class and how that's going to look. So we'll have an update on that soon. But I guess my point here is like, yeah, we're going to move into level 2, which is like a whole other ball game. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that, about what it's like to be an Akashic Records reader and what that means. Because I
Yeah,
think,
okay.
we talk more about like getting a reading and how you heal, but what is it like to be a reader?
The first thing that comes to mind when you say that is when I did my Akashic Records level 2. So for those that don't know, just in case, level 1 is I'm learning to read my own Akashic Records. And then level 2 is you learn to read someone else's Akashic Records. And when I was going to begin my level 2, the first thing that the teacher said, which I years later I totally agree with still, it's you do more learning when you read other people's Akashic Records than when you read your own. And I was
Wow.
like, really? Why would I learn from other people's junk? Like,
I questioned that as well when I first
yeah.
started, and it really is true.
Oh my God, yeah.
There's always things you extract from a reading, even though we always say this. And like, for example, today I had a reading, and I think I had a reading with her like a year before. And I was like, by the way, I don't remember anything I said to you. I don't remember anything I channeled. Like, that all completely leaves me. So I'll see you again unless it hit me in a way that I resonated with it
Yeah.
so much that it's like on here, we'll talk about certain cases. We won't mention names or specific situations or things like that,
Yeah.
but they hit us in a way where it resonates and we need
Yeah.
to talk about it. So in those cases, that's when I feel like it's different, right? Like that it's
Yeah.
not the norm of I've channeled, it's left, I'm done. Um,
Yeah, I tend to forget a
Different.
lot, but there's some few occasions where I'll remember, and it's either because I found that really information really interesting, or it's like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
going through something similar. Note to self, good advice from me too. Or like they told a story question that really impacted me. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that person went through that. That's whoa, like this person's in front of me and they're super strong. Like maybe my Lucia mind goes off for a second thinking about how strong the person is or what they went through. And then I'll remember the response because I can't imagine what they're gonna say about this really difficult scenario that was just told. Um, and so then I'll remember the response and go, wow, I would have thought of,
Yeah.
them saying that. So yeah, so it's specific the things you remember.
Yeah, very specific things. And sometimes this happens to me. I don't know about you, but I'll remember something about it. I don't know who the reading was for. So it's like I know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happens. I'm like, who was that?
I
I don't
tend to
know.
remember faces
Yeah, me
because I'm
too.
visual, right?
I remember the
Yeah.
faces sometimes. Like I'll remember the name. I'm like, in the moment I see their face when they're back on the screen, like on Zoom, I'll be like, oh right, okay, yes, and things start to come back too. It's really
Yeah.
weird. It's not that I want them to come back, because I don't wanna even, like, be tainted by the previous reading we had. I want things to be fresh always,
Yeah.
right? So, I think that's interesting, but I think what you said is really true, and I think that's something I questioned at the beginning. It's like, you don't expect being a reader will teach you so much about yourself, and we always say this, and we'll continue to say this, it's you attract the people that you need in your path, or the people that need your help will also be attracted to you. So it's not about forcing anybody to get a reading, or forcing, or like pushing this idea of someone getting a reading when they might not feel it. It's the right people will come to you. You have to trust that. And
Yeah,
that's with anything, right?
I've had people where they're like, I'll get a message from someone's like, oh, this is when I first began, so I was like really new to it. But I think since people you're still learning you learn to deal with all sorts of people, like how to communicate information to them, what's the best way to tell them how readings go. Like these are all things you also have to learn because it's like a
Yeah.
new language. You can't just go, oh, let me send you a text really quick. Hey, okay, this is my reading, and then you kind of audio it to them. Like there's a bunch of things where you need to create the way that you function best and the way that you make yourself understood most. I know that you have a totally different method than I do communicating with
Very,
people
yeah.
via email, right? But mine works for me and I like it, and yours of course works for you and you like it. But in the beginning, it was a rough patch for me, and this is like this is something that you learn. You have to take into account. It's like people are going to message you sometimes, and when they really like the reading and you're newer, they'll probably in the beginning not have an email, probably just have your phone number because somebody gave them your number. Like that's how it was for me, at least in the beginning. And then like, oh I really want my sister to get a reading. Can I give you her number? You can contact her. And I'll be
Mm,
like, and so I would have to go out of my way to explain, like, no, I can't message your sister and be like, hey, I'm the reader, your sister, like, hey, like, this is my number. Like, you have to give your sister my number, and she needs to contact me because she needs to show me her interest because I cannot force it on her.
yeah. That's
So,
something I find so important because
yeah.
some people are on the fence when they're gonna go get a reading, and it's like, you don't wanna influence them. What I like to do is, like, I'll give you information. This is all the information you need. If you have any questions, I'm here, like, I'm always here to answer any questions anybody has. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm not here to force or convince you of anything. I think that's something I really learned from one of my teachers. It was like, "You're not here to convince anybody of believing in the Akashic Records or getting a reading
Oh,
or
and
anything like
also,
that."
if you don't believe it, I don't even feel like going there.
Exactly,
Like,
and I think we both are at, you've gotten to that point a long time ago, but I've gotten to that point
yeah.
now. It's like, that's fine. I'm not gonna take it personal. It's fine. It's like, I'm not gonna let my ego get involved in that. It's like, okay, if you don't wanna do this, that's fine. There might be another tool out there for you that you resonate with more and that you connect with more.
Yeah.
But I
But
think,
to be
yeah, not
honest,
forcing is important.
I've gotten so much less of that. Like the
Yeah, me
years that
too.
pass, more people are open to
It's
tools like
insane.
this. More people understand it. They're scared of it less. It's yeah. In the last years, it's progressed. I mean, when I first started 12 years ago, you had a full blown explain like what it is, what's channeling, what's Akashic Records, what are the masters. Like you had to explain everything. They didn't
You
know
have to
anything.
explain everything.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
nowadays people are like, oh yeah, masters. Oh yeah, guides. Oh yeah, channeling. Yeah, like people know this stuff already.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's beautiful. I think that's, yeah, we can talk about this so openly and that people just find the podcast and they start listening to this podcast or any other podcast,
Yeah,
and it's like channeling from other beings or from the Akashic Records, and it's normal. I
yeah,
think it's like a good step forward for everybody. You wanting to be like an Akashic Records reader or channeler or not, but maybe it's just a tool you like to lean on and get a reading every now and then because it helps support you. That's great too. Like, you don't have to be a reader, right?
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that's another thing I want to say about being a reader of any kind of, be it Akashic Records or not, but specifically with Akashic Records, it's you're gonna have to like feel the calling. The
Yes,
calling needs to come. No one's here to force you to be a reader, and it isn't easy to be a reader. You have to dedicate a lot of time to practicing. You have to, give your time and energy to people, and support them in that way and to hold space for them. And
only for the reading. That's something we're
for their
also,
reading, yeah.
we also are making sure to teach at level two. Like, you cannot help the person after the reading. Like, you cannot be responsible for them creating the
No,
changes that might have.
responsibility's done, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
think,
letting go is a big part of learning. In the
yes.
beginning, that was something I struggled through as a
Me
reader. I was
too.
like,
Me
I
too.
really wanted to help this person. I really want to help. I would do the reading, and then I'd check in on them, like, hey, and they wouldn't create the changes. Oh, remember that they told you blah 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 blah. And I would remember
Mm,
as much as I could because I really wanted to help. Um,
yeah.
and that wow, that feels like ages ago at this point for me. Like now,
That for
I'm
me
really
came
good at
from
letting
a
go.
place of insecurity. Like, when I would do that, it was like, I wanna make sure I did a good job. Let me check up on them, make sure I'm like, I was worried about them, of course, but it was like, I just wanna make I need reassurance that I did a good job and that the
Mm.
information that they received, it's like, it's out of your hands. Like, what you do as a reader is you prep yourself, you take care of your energy, you give your 100% energy while you're on that call with the person and you're doing a reading for them. You close the records correctly, and then that's, that information is theirs. That's not your information. I think that's another good point to say because that's why we forget the information in the first place. It's not ours. We're just a channel. And if that's not like a physical representation of like us not having to take on more than we should, I don't know what is. Like, it's like the
Yeah,
perfect symbol of that, right? It's like,
yeah,
we those aren't our issues. We are just a mere channel, and all we have control of is what we do during the reading and making sure that we're prepared for that. And if we don't feel up to it that day, then we cancel it, because it's better that than, going into a reading and feeling like you didn't give your all, right?
With that said, it's also been amazing. Like I've had days where I'm like, oh my God, I feel like the energy of the world
Yeah,
today. I'm feeling depressed. And I'll have like the whole day where I'll be like, oh gosh. And
always helps.
those days usually I have readings at night when Aurora's sleeping, right? And there was one day where I'm like, I don't know if I should do the reading. I'm so freaking depressed right now. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna meditate. I'll be fine. I was like, I'm gonna meditate an extra amount. So I was gonna meditate 30 minutes. I usually do 10 to 15 minutes before reading. I'm like, no, I'm gonna meditate 30 minutes, put some really good music on, get into a good mode, and I'll be fine. And so I was managed to centralize my emotions, my negative emotions. Not that I was feeling wow awesome, but I was like, okay, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then I finished the reading. I was like, I'm excited about the world again. I think everything's great. We're right on track. It's fine. And I was like, wow, like a whole 180, like and that's saved my
It's
life,
great.
especially during these times of COVID and you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's true, what's a lie. Like that whole thing, it's kept me sane.
I
It's
agree
kept
on
me
that
sane.
too. For me, it literally, it's like I'm doing all 10 things over here, and all of a sudden I do a reading and it pulls me back to my center. I'm like, okay, yes, this is where I need to be. It's like always like bringing me back, bringing me back. It's great.
Oh,
You
that's
know
how
it.
it's been for me doing like also I've been doing the angelic healing on the side. That's how it's been for me as well. Those two things have saved me.
Yeah.
Just feeling the energy of the masters and the information and the positive, their positive perspective on everything makes me not feel so worried or
Yeah.
depressed at the time that I'm at. And then the angelic healing, I'm just like feeling the energy of the angels when I'm setting somebody's session. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Can I stay here forever?
In this energy.
Yeah, and forever and ever.
Yeah.
It's
It
awesome.
definitely it definitely raises your vibration in such an interesting way, right? It's like, and obviously if you're not sick or feeling depleted and feeling completely fatigued, like, you should be okay to do a reading. And that's our responsibility as readers also, to prep ourselves for the reading. It's, have I had a really bad day? Well, then I need to leave extra space and time before my reading to meditate, to do my breath work, to center myself so that I can be there for that person, hold the space that they need, because that's our responsibility.
I've had fights with Sandra. I'm like, I can't fight with you right now. I gotta go neutralize because I have a reading.
Yeah.
Like this. Oh, I hate him. Um, before the reading, like, and then I'll come downstairs and I'm like totally happy again. Everything was
Like,
fine.
what happened to
And,
you?
and then he'll be like with his face because we had last time he saw me we were in a fight, right? And I'll be like, oh, that's right, I had a fight with you. Okay, that's right, I'm angry at you.
I should be angry at you.
Yeah, but I'm totally over it because the Akashic Records just like pulls you out of that.
Of
It's
course,
it's
yeah,
it's awesome. Yeah, I thought it'd be cool maybe
definitely.
to talk a little bit about the masters, the guides, and the book, like the
Okay,
components that are inside of the reading, right?
okay,
Um, okay, so obviously the most important component of the Akashic Records reading is the book because it's an Akashic Records reading, the book of life. The person's getting information that's coming from the Akashic book, that the author of that book is the soul, and inside of that book what the soul wrote, if it's the author, right, then what the soul wrote was all the past life experiences. So that's the information you'll find in that book. Now we can't get information that gossips about that because the point of the Akashic Records is to help you deal with this lifetime now. So you're only going to hear about those lifetimes, those experiences, that karma that's affecting this lifetime now. So that's the book. But at the same time, it's not just the book that's kind of present or pushing through information when you're channeling, right? Or when
yeah,
you're getting a reading. What what we have present on top of the book is the Akashic Masters. The well, in our cases, well, in this case, now that we both have our Akashic Records open to do this episode, we have the Akashic Masters assisting us. But if I were reading you, for example, it's not the Akashic Masters that are present, it's the person's masters that are present.
exactly.
So it switches depending on what type of reading it is.
I
If I
still
were,
ask assistance from my masters and guides during that session. It's
well,
not that
they're
they
present with
intervene.
you.
Yeah, they don't necessarily intervene because information doesn't come from
Yeah.
them when I'm doing a reading for somebody else, but they're there helping you stay grounded,
Yeah, they're it's like,
centered.
I like imagine, so this is what I see when I have a reading. I have the reading, I have the person in front of me on, Skype or Zoom, and then I see on the left side, I will see the masters. It's almost like I have two layers. Okay, I'm gonna try to explain it the best I can. It's almost like
Okay.
I have two layers. I have the layer of the person, like the vision of the person I have in front of me that's actually there, and then I have another layer that's almost superimposed.
Superimposed, yeah.
Yeah, so I have like an image that gets superimposed on top of that person, and that is of in front of me, which is the book in the middle, which is open because the person's Akashic records are already open. So it's a book in the middle that's open. I have the masters on the left side, one, two, three, four, whatever amount of masters that are present for that individual in that reading. And then on the right side, I will usually have the guide in the front and the soul behind the guide. And that's usually because the soul tends the soul tends to want the one of them to take over instead of them. But sometimes I'll get readings where the soul just comes forward and is just carrying the whole thing on its own. Like the
Yeah.
masters are still there and stuff, but it's just the soul going, I'm gonna get this on my own.
I don't physically see it like you do, but I can feel it. So I can feel when it's, for example, a reading where it's heavily comprised of like the soul coming through and giving messages. Or sometimes you'll feel that energy of like one of the masters or the guide. Like I could feel it. I don't generally, sometimes I will say what's coming or who's coming through. And I know you say that a lot in your readings, like your soul says this or the master says this. But for me, yeah, I mean, I'll generally say when it's more the soul, if that comes up. To me, it's just information. I'm just communicating it, and that's it. I don't see anything unless that one time that I think we were asked, like, how do you see the guides and the masters? Like, what do they look like? And then we both describe them in the same way.
Yeah.
But I think with a few people I've seen, especially when they have groups, like a big group of masters, there they'll generally show me at least silhouettes and the numbers, so I'll be able to see that, but you're very visual compared to me.
Yeah, you do a lot of feeling. I don't really feel that much.
I feel a
Like
lot.
I don't like
Yeah,
I'll see misery through vision. I'll see sadness through vision. I'll they'll show me an image of someone crying. You'll probably feel the crying.
I
Like,
feel it. I did
yeah,
a reading
yeah.
for this, woman probably a few months ago, and it was oh, I'm getting goosebumps just, like, thinking about it. It was such a strong feeling. I channeled information about her. I think one of her parents were deceased and another one wasn't. But I felt everything that her parents were feeling.
I wouldn't be
Before
able to deal with that.
it was I almost started like I shed a tear. I'd never felt something so strong during a
Oh my
reading. Like I'll
goodness.
feel it, but this was like this overwhelming feeling of just like that lump in your throat and
Yeah.
just sadness and just desperation, and it was so strong. And that's where I started getting my mind, this is a little off topic, but started pulling towards the area of mediumship because we were talking about Roberto's mediumship workshop and how I've been feeling called in that direction because I have, yeah, it's just interesting how I can channel that during a reading and it just feels like I'm going in that direction sometimes.
Mhm.
I think it's more if the person's open to it, then I can channel it a little bit more. Otherwise, like you're not going to channel
Yeah,
something
no,
down here.
I don't I can't really get deceased to come through. Um I might get a master or soul, the guide to push through something that they want to say about that person. Or the closest thing I've gotten to that is I'll feel the soul really, really far away, and it's always back behind me, like over here on my
Mm.
right side for some reason, and I'll feel a message come, and it comes in through a different area than the rest of it,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's when I'll
Okay.
get like a message from them, and in that case I'll say, this individual is saying this, and this, and this. but that's it. That's as close as I can get to them. So I think that's a thing that my soul's I think every soul's really good at something and,
Yeah.
specific. And so that seems to be something you're more developed with, right?
Yeah, and I have been finding that out through the experience of doing readings, right? It's not like I've been pushing it in that direction. It's just by the questions that are asked or the information that comes through. And yeah, like you, someone will ask about someone that's passed, let's say, and sometimes I'll get really detailed information. Sometimes maybe their energy doesn't want to come through, and I'll just receive a few things, right? But it depends. It really depends. I think it also depends on if they need to hear that information. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird. That's why I think mediumship is an interesting thing because
I
I'm
don't
sure
think
it's a
all the
different
souls that are
tool.
passed over want to communicate. Sometimes I think maybe they're not ready
Sometimes
or
they probably don't. I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know that well enough, but
Yeah. Yeah. So we were talking about, yeah, so the person's masters and the person's guide and soul are present, the book is present. And like you were saying, I don't see it because it's just a distractor for me at this point. I just want to see what's going on with them, but I'll have behind me, technically I would have behind me around over here, I would feel my masters. And I don't feel a guide. I don't feel, anything else. I just feel the masters right here on this side. So they're helping my channel out if I need it or when I need it, right? They're there to assist the channel. So you can be a more, I guess, precise, more aligned, you know, channel for the individual. So that's why they're
yeah,
there. They're not giving information really. They're just working with you, for them, for the person you're
exactly.
reading. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I have written down also talk about contracts. We have the book. We're talking about the book that's open right in front of us during the reading. For me as a reader, again, I'm very visual. When they want to talk about a contract or when the person asks about something karma, like I right away see the book flip towards the back and I see always the last pages as the current life contract. And so that's where, and sometimes I'll see that it's like a bunch of pages, or I'll see that it's very few pages. Like that's an indicator for me, and that's my signaling, which I think
Yeah.
every reader has different signaling. I talked about this once on the Patreon, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like how, you have to pick up on your own signaling, or was it a class? I don't know. It doesn't matter. You have to pick up on your own signals. Like not everybody, maybe a pair of glasses, maybe if a reader sees a pair of glasses, it means something for someone. And maybe for another reader it might mean something else. So you need to start creating your own dictionary of signaling. And so I know that for me, the back of the book is the contract, and the more full and the more pages I see, the more extensive this, I guess, the layout of this
Yeah.
lifetime is, and the more lessons the person has to go through, and the less pages tend to be like they're here to do something very specific and go through less things on a list, I guess you could say. um, and then I don't see any past life contracts. To me, the way it feels, and I've never been fully shown it, but to me, the way it feels is, and this we've channeled this for our class for what's the name of the class again? Contracts course,
The slow
contract course.
contracts course on Udemy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we channeled something along this line in it, but I've never fully blown seen it. But it's like for me, let's say Lucia's lifetime is done. It's like the book's gonna open, those pages are gonna tear out, and they're gonna pop in as wisdom. Whatever I learned, it's gonna pop in the sections it needs to as wisdom under the section of Lucia Spiga's life, right?
Yeah.
So it's gonna pop in as the wisdom that she learned, the things she was able to, get through. And then the pending, it's gonna be going into the list of pending karmic lessons, pending things to do, pending, people to bump into, things like that. So they become different sections once that contract is ripped out of the book, if you can, I
That's
think
so
that's the
cool
best
you
way.
can see it so visually.
Yeah.
I don't. I definitely don't. It's very different for me. I can just connect with the information, I guess, and but it's cool. I mean, I think you also channel more about contracts and specific details. It feels that way, at least when we do our dual readings.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never sat down to think about it. I think my, so, I mean, I think my soul's part of its path is to help communicate in the readings information for people, so they like, just like the way I am, just get it done, let's not mess around anymore. Let's not waste any more freaking time. She's like, got it, get it, good.
Move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Oh my God, you know what that reminds me of? They're our favorite show, the IT Crowd.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that reminds me of the IT Crowd. The IT Crowd, it's like
It's British, funny
British like IT guys.
series, yeah.
Yeah, where they're like socially awkward, typical IT guy.
They're just, yeah, they work in this little IT department in like the basement of this building.
Love that show. And then so they
It's
have a boss named Jen, and Jen's like the only socially awkward person. And apparently someone
She's also
that was
awkward in her own way though.
she is actually you're right about that. Yeah, but supposedly she's not. Supposedly she's like the one that helps manage them socially
Yeah.
or whatever. And so someone passed away. I don't remember the episode who had passed away, but someone had passed away in the episode. And Roy had said to Jen, like, oh my God, I never know what to say when these things, they're at the funeral, right? It's like, I never know what to say with these things. Like, what am I supposed to say to the wife of the guy that died? And she goes, just say you're sorry. Just say you're sorry. And then you move on. So
I remember this.
So she said, say you're sorry, move on. And so, because she's standing at the door of the church, so she was insinuating that Roy goes to the wife and say, "I'm so sorry for your loss," and then he just walks into the church supposedly. But Roy goes to the wife and goes, "I'm sorry for your loss," and then like hits her on the shoulder, "Move on."
I need to see that episode again.
Oh my God! Yes, I love that show so much.
So awkward.
The whole scenario is awkward. It's so awkward, and you're like, "No, he didn't just say that." Oh my God, no! But yeah, that's what it reminds me of. Off topic, but anyways,
Definitely. Good show. I'll link the
actually, if I YouTube it, I can probably find a YouTube
let's try
snippet
to look for it so people
of that
they'll
scenario.
probably
I'm
be like, oh,
sure.
this isn't funny. For us it was so funny.
It's yeah.
It was like a whole kind of era of our, like, we used to watch that all the time and go back to it and just crack up.
Oh my God, I can still. Once I tried to convince Sandra to watch it, I'm like, this is the funniest show ever. I love this show. You have to watch it. And I was crying. And I already knew all the episodes. Like Friends, you already know all the episodes. You already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like crying. And Sandra's just sitting there, not laughing ever. We watched like one whole full episode. And he's like, you think this is funny? I was like, it's hilarious. Yeah, I guess the Dutch don't, because it's English humor.
Yeah, it's very much English. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Dutch don't seem to understand the English humor wise.
It's different. Everybody's humor is different, right?
Yeah. It took us a while. Like we lived in the States for a while. And when we went to London, I remember it took us a really long time to pick up on their humor and to find it funny.
It did. That's true.
Yeah. I remember that.
I remember. Yeah. And that's, I think, when we started, but I think that show we watched it before we went there, or no, was it while we were there?
I think it was while we were there. I think Tim introduced us to it.
Yeah, our good friend Tim.
Yeah.
Wow. So many memories.
Yeah.
Getting nostalgic on the 100th episode.
Yeah. It had to be at some point. Okay, what else do I have written down here? I think it's gonna be cool if we talk about questions. Like what kind of things, maybe let's not talk about what kind of questions to ask because we have an episode on that, but like what kind of questions are answered, or what are the most important questions that you find that people should ask and have dealt with, or you've seen the most healing?
Well, for me, there's, first of all, I want to use the word like purpose is coming up, because I think finding your purpose through, and this isn't always like, okay, this is your purpose. It can help guide you also in the direction of finding your purpose. So both are valid. I think that's a huge thing that people can ask about, and I think you can find some guidance on. And then where I also see, because I do work a lot with the flower essences and the therapy alongside the Akashic Records, so I do see a lot of shifts from what comes up in their reading, what we work on with the flowers, and that obviously you're going to be doing your own work afterwards. And after a reading, you're still shifting, things are moving, information's clicking, and you're able to still heal without the flowers, of course. But I think understanding where certain repetitive issues or certain like things that hurt you today or that are holding you back today stem from. I like to go to the root. I like to find where that's coming from so you can understand it. So asking, like, for example, I feel like I feel like I'm blocked in this area of my life, or I can't open up to love, or I can't find a relationship. Like, what's behind this? What do I need to know? And how can I let go of this? How can I heal this so I can move forward and actually connect fully with another being? I think that's powerful. Just finding the root cause of anything is
Yeah.
like, this is why I do the Akashic
I agree.
Records.
Especially if it has to do with like a relationship that was very hurtful for the person, or,
Yeah.
it ended really badly and they kind of just need to understand it. It's not like the person's going to come back into their life. It's not like what happened is going to be erased. It's literally that like, you somehow understand it. It could
Yeah.
be linked to, a past life. It could be just a lesson that you have pending, or it could be just you were supposed to go through that because it led you somewhere. Whatever it is that comes up in that question, in that reading, I feel like just them understanding it, they go,
Wow.
okay, like that makes sense. And then they can like let it go.
It's powerful. I don't know if you don't realize it until you're in a reading, and that's been happened to me as well when I've gotten readings. It's like, "Oh, wow, that all makes so much sense now. Why I feel this way towards this issue or why this is holding me back, why this is constantly repeating." And then you have to do your work afterwards, right? It might be you connecting with your inner child and healing that, or or actually like listening to those signs you've been getting and taking action and doing something too, right? So, I think there's a little bit of vulnerability that needs to go into that, of like realizing that there's an issue in your life first, and realizing first of all you're not a victim, because we need to get out of that victim role and say, okay, this is something repetitive. Let me look at it. Let me not judge it. And let me ask about it. Let me see what's behind all of this, and going into it with a completely open mind and saying, okay, I don't know what's going to come through, but I'm open to hear it because I want to heal it. And that's the energy
Yeah.
you need to go into stuff with when you go into a reading. It's, I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to try to figure it out. It's just like, it is what it is, and I accept it. And it's part of me, and I can release it. I can heal it. But in order to do that, I need to figure it out first.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's a really important part of the process of the reading. Those two things, I agree with that. It's understanding that thing that you have that's you haven't been able to let go, and then just feeling useful. So the purpose, right? Like just feeling like
Yeah.
there's something you're good at, or or you're useful. You're useful or capable, or there's something in you that's available for the universe to use. Like it's funny because sometimes you think and you look at the world from outside, you go, man, this world has so much evil. But if you become a reader and you start connecting with you read so many
Yeah.
people, you realize, dude, there's actually way more nice people than there's crappy people. It's just that the crappy people have the platform.
Yeah.
And you see them all the freaking time because they're on the stupid bought off media, or wherever you just see them all the time. And the good people were better. Like we're not seeing that much. And
It's
so I think
true.
that's one of my favorite parts of like being a reader. It's like, I mean, there are times where I'll have a month, my like calendar is full of a month with like readings from Monday to Friday. And then you think back, it's like, I didn't meet one mean person. They were all amazing in their own way. They were all
They're
really
all
nice.
open, vulnerable,
Yeah.
trusting, and
Their
in their
intentions
own.
are awesome. They just
Yeah.
want to, most of them really want to find something to help the world.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many of us, and we're just, yeah, we got to find a way to see each other more, you know?
Yeah, I think with purpose as well, it's like, okay, yeah, it could be something physical, but it's like, to me, purpose, and this is also me always going into my feelings. To me, purpose is not only just feeling useful, but connecting with that one thing that lights you up. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be your job. It could be something that you do for fun. It could be, I don't know, volunteering at an animal shelter. It could be going to, I don't know, gardening. That could be part of your purpose and helping people bring awareness to certain things. It's like there isn't an answer. Like, we're not all here to do the same thing. We're all here to do completely different things, and our purposes are all completely different. So it's our job to find that
I mean,
out.
that's our inspiration, our passion. We're lit up by that thing because we came to bring that into the world. Not
Yeah,
everyone's going to be a reader. Not everyone's going to be, into flower remedy. Not everybody's going to be into angelic healing. Because if we all were, like, we need people to be interested and good at other things as
of
well.
course. Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
the
I mean,
diversity, right?
yeah, yeah, totally. Okay, that was the questions. Hmm, I mean, that's we kind of answered this next one. What to use them for?
The Akashic Records?
Yeah, it's knowledge for me. If I had to say it in a simple way, it's knowledge for healing and more profoundly understanding yourself and your soul.
100%. That being for opening your own or getting a reading too. So I think that, but for
Yep.
myself, it's given me like the confidence to listen to my intuition and to connect to my intuition a little bit more, because it's great when you're connected and you're asking the questions and you're receiving. But now I find myself that even when I'm not connected to my Akashic records, even though they can open on their own, I'm more like, I'll lean more on my intuition.
Yeah.
I'll listen to it more. I go more into these feelings because for me, obviously, a lot comes through with feelings. So that's my way of connecting with kind of my gut. But it's like now I feel more inclined to go that direction, where before it was like, let me overthink this situation and let me just go around in circles for 5 days and never make a decision at all. And now it's like, this feels right. I'm going to trust it. And that's okay. I don't know. Maybe it's also part of my path with the Akashic records. But it's definitely helped me in that sense. And it helps me also in situations where I feel like, I've talked about this in the course. I get very nervous speaking to people and groups and stuff. And it's something that kind of like holds me back a little bit, which is a fear I'm going to have to get over, of course, at some point.
It's such
I
a
still
common
do it.
fear. Like, it's so common to have
It's
that
so
fear.
common. Yeah, I
You
get
would
so
think that we wouldn't
nervous.
have that.
Like
Yeah.
even when we're doing a class on Zoom, I get nervous. It's just like, shoot.
You know
Um,
what? I'm gonna say I do get nervous. I have to talk about something else, but I have to talk about something I know, like the
yeah.
Akashic Records, that I don't get. That I don't get nervous. Like
Oh, I
that's
get
the only
nervous
time where you can put
anyway.
in front of me 500 people, and I'm not nervous because it's like I'm in my mojo. Like that's what I know.
Yeah.
It's like I
Just
get in it.
even knowing that this is gonna go on YouTube, like our video, I'm already overthinking it. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
really?
Yeah. But now what I do now though is I focus more on what we're talking about, that I'm here with you, even though we're talking to people outside of us right now. It's like, hey, you guys,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. Where was I going with all this?
Wait, what were we talking
Talking
about?
about the fear. Oh yeah, right, the
Yeah.
Akashic record. So I know I can open my own Akashic records and it'll help me find better words. It'll help me calm my energy. It'll help me find my balance so then I feel a little bit more, yeah, I feel a little bit more secure in myself. It helps. It definitely helps.
Yeah.
I definitely use
Yeah.
it for that a lot.
Yeah. I've been using it mostly to. It's just we've been channeling so much for the level 2 course that I've just been popping them open to channel for the manual, and when I can rest and close them, I'm like,
Yeah.
close
It's a
them, gotta
lot.
close.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, then I have written down past lives. I mean, we kind of talked about this already. Past lives will come up if they have to do with this lifetime, because it affects this lifetime, and so it's useful for you to know. But they're not gonna, like we said this before so many times, they're not gonna be like, "Oh my God, you were this amazing girl that did this, this, and this, and that." Like, right? Like, they're never gonna come in unless you have to hear that.
Unless you
You
have to hear it.
might
Yeah.
need a booster to hear about how your soul has managed to do these amazing things. Okay, yes. That in that case, yes. But rarely will they go and give you a list of all the past lives your soul had because it wasn't you. And that's a really important thing I want that we never talk really about this. And it's important because you'll get people that come to reading and they'll say, I want to know what past lives I had. Well, technically speaking, you had none because you're existing for the first time.
Yeah.
Your
Your
soul, on
soul.
the other hand, yeah, your soul, on the other hand, yes, your soul had many,
But that's
many.
like weird to think about. Do you know what I
I
mean?
know.
Because that's our
Lucia
ego.
is
But
once,
that's
never
where you
again.
realize it's a question from the ego. It's not a question from my higher self wanting information to understand what's going on right now.
Yeah.
it's different.
So okay, this just came up because you're saying that I'm thinking about it, and then the Akashic Records are kind of like filling in the blanks for me. Do you ever hear like those stories of like near death experiences where like the person's like, I detached and I was kind of floating above myself, and you hear the story, you can tell that they're still them.
Yeah.
Their personality is still there. They still see the loved ones and feel for the loved ones. They still think their process of thinking is very similar, maybe a little bit more open, like, but they still. And I always thought about that. And I said, so supposedly when you leave your body, this incarnation's done. I always thought to myself, like, why are they still having the perspective? Maybe it's because they haven't fully passed away. They're still kind of here. But what the Akashic Records
Yeah.
are saying to me right now is that it would be too brusque, brusco. What is that word in English?
Too abrupt.
Abrupt. It would be too abrupt of a process. It's like a shock. It would be like a shock for the soul to come out of this lifetime and just drop the personality that it's been playing for the past, I don't know, 80 years, 50 years, whatever. So it needs to gradually drop particles of it. And the strongest aspects of the personality that this lifetime is carrying, those are the last ones to be dropped. So you're dropping little, it's almost like, how they're showing to me, like if we're bread and just crumbs are falling.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And crumbs are falling until the bread totally dropped and it dissipated into the air and it went into other things in the ether or whatever. And then the soul became its soul again. But if it were to go boom, goodbye, I'm no longer Lucia. I'm no longer a fighter, and I'm not going to take shit, and all that stuff that Lucia is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she wouldn't be able to drop that because that's the strongest part of who I am.
Yeah.
So she had to carry that with her for a while and then gradually drop that.
That makes sense.
Which is why the soul doesn't remember right away all the past lives, because it's still attached, has a partial attachment to that ego, because that's ego, right?
That's ego.
It has a partial attachment to that ego that's carrying the personality as well, and it has to start dropping it. As soon as it begins to drop those crumbs, what it looks like is it begins to remember what it really is, the soul, the expansion level and what it really is. So you start to become the consciousness level that you originally were before coming, very slowly. And then the remembering begins. And that by then you're far away from the body, you're far away from the lifetime. Time has passed.
Wow.
On Earth.
Yeah,
on Earth.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So wait, why was I saying that? Oh, we're talking about past lives, and I was saying, like, you didn't have a past life, it was your soul. So yeah, I think it's important to remember that, because I made that mistake when I first got my first reading. I was like, oh, I want to know what I've been in other lifetimes. And my soul was my soul was very pissed. Like, the lady who was doing my reading, she's like, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it the way your soul's saying it. And she sounded super bitchy. And I'm like, wow, my soul's
But that's also because your soul's probably like, let's get to work. Come on.
Yeah, she was saying that
around.
I needed to figure out how the world really functioned. I had to, she was trying to wake me up, and she knew that I only listened to bitch.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's a really cool, this is a real cool thing to remember, that your soul did have a lot of experiences. You're only going to hear about the ones that have to do with this one, and it really wasn't you, it was your soul.
Yeah. Something that came up, just going back to the questions and stuff, and we're talking about purpose. This is why I like astrology so much too, because this is just reminding you of the North Nodes. If anybody's interested in like understanding their purpose a little bit more, I believe it is the North Node that can help you find that. So figure out what your North Node is in your natal chart and like look into it, like Google it. I think that could also help you confirm and kind of look at where you're at. And
I don't remember where my north
my North Node is in
was.
Leo, actually.
That
And
depends on
it's
where
spot on. And it's not just about work, it's about what you need to be doing to be going into your purpose. It might be personality traits, things you need to move away from, fears that you have. I'm gonna link a book I got on actually I got my Kindle, so I got it online. She explains everything so well. It's spot on. And a lot of people say that, and I actually wanted to do a whole thing about it on Patreon, because I was like, I want to explain it and put it in my own words. So I'm going to try to do that. I'll see if that works out. I'm still I haven't finished my second year of astrology, so it will be something, I think that's part of my purpose too, right? Like
Yeah.
astrology. I feel
I
like
started
that's,
learning it, but I'm like behind by half a year. Like
we've been
I
busy.
can watch it whenever, yeah, and I just, oof, no time.
It's like learning a completely different language. It's
Yeah.
insane, but so like magical. Sorry, I got off topic. I just wanted to mention that because I think that might be something that could help people if you're looking at your astrology chart.
Yeah. And then, well, I linked past life. This is the last thing to talk about, which is current life, which we kind of already talked about, really. But I think that the more, if you're still here, there's definitely something for you to like work on, and there's definitely something you're supposed to do, or you're supposed to learn, or people you're supposed to bump into. It's like we nobody has it figured out 100%. Not even the people that are like maybe our heroes that we look up to them, and maybe we think they know it all or they've got it all figured out. Like they're still
No,
here. They're highly probably learning something as well. Maybe there's a few, and I would say there's probably not that many. Maybe there's a few on earth that are here to kind of keep us awake or keep us aligned.
especially
Maybe,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think the the majority of Earth is we're here to we got things to learn. You know?
There's a reason we're here. And I don't know if it was on another episode that I talked about this. Like, you're not just here by coincidence. Like, there's a reason you're here. You need to figure that out. And even if it's just healing and struggling through certain things and figuring that out and making that your mission and understanding that all these things aren't being thrown at you like randomly, right? It's there for a reason. You need to learn
Yeah.
something from it and trust that and go into it with this kind of like not this victim mentality, right? From this very open and willing to see yourself and analyze yourself and maybe get a reading from somebody or open your own Akashic records and figure it out and make that your priority, and that's how you're going to heal and how you're going to be able to awake and connect with yourself spiritually, because when you have all this junk and we're in this victim role, it's going to be pretty difficult to connect to yourself. At
Yeah.
least you might think you are, but you're probably not fully.
Yeah. Dust yourself off and just get back up and be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm done being a victim. I'm now going to empower myself.
Yeah,
Mm,
there's so many ways to do that, right? There's not one answer.
yeah. I think this was an amazing
100th
100th
episode.
episode.
I'm really proud of us. I want to say that.
Like mic drop.
Yeah, like, and I'm going to say this for everybody, like, put your mind to something, create something, speak your mind, put your message out there. Like, don't be scared. I mean, we were scared, right? But we still did it. We were like, who's going to want to listen to us? How are we going to help anybody? It's like, you don't know. You don't know when you can help somebody. The way we tell our stories and the way we communicate is different from anybody else. And people will resonate with the way you tell your story, right? So do it. Like,
Yep.
put the time, put the effort, put the energy, do it in your own way. Don't compare yourself to others and just dedicate time and put in that work. And you're going to connect with those people you need to connect with. You're going to heal. You're going to find your purpose. It'll take time, but it's magical. Like, I'm so happy that we started the podcast. It's something that like we've said
Yeah.
over and over. We don't know where we'd be right now if we didn't have
Just
the
like the
podcast.
Akashic Records and just like the angelic healing, this podcast has kept me sane. Just being able to
Yeah.
just openly talk about it, all the spiritual stuff and all these cool things that we're learning and we're figuring out, and our even our struggles as well, right? All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Also, we should
amazing.
mention that we're launching a new logo.
Yes, let's do that. So, we wanted to like spruce things up. We've been talking about this for a while actually, but I'm so indecisive.
No, you don't say.
So we've gone ahead and changed up the artwork a little bit. We felt like we were going in a different direction with the colors, and we've kept some things the same.
It's funny, guys. Listen to the process. Lorena's a logo girl, right? Like she's a graphic designer. So she'll like give me like 20 options. And then she'll email it to me. And I will look at like the first 5 and be like, that one. I like that one. And maybe I'll give her 3 options, but I'll usually be like, this one, that one, or this one. And then she'll come back and be, okay, and then she grabs it. Instead of saying, okay, that's it, this is it. She'll go and continue to fix it, make such slight changes where she goes, do you like the first one or the fifth one? I'm like, they look the same to me. I can't,
They don't,
I can't
though.
tell the truth. But to me, they do. I'm like, I like them both. Pick whichever you want. And I think, okay, that's the end of it. We're done. I told her to pick whichever she wants. And then 1 week later, she'll be like, okay, so I grabbed the ones that you liked. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I like number one. And then she keeps going. Look, guys, it's been half a year now.
Yeah, or a year probably.
I'm like, just pick one, or just
Or
pick
maybe half a
one.
year. Yeah. And I'm still not convinced this looks good, but we're going to go with it.
I like the one that we talked about. Was it yesterday? Like,
yeah, well, it'll be the one that's up now, so people will be able to see it.
Okay.
So we're actually going to update everything, I think, over the weekend. Most things. There might be a few things that we'll work on during the week, but the idea is just to move energy, do something different, right? Like if you don't change, nothing changes. So
yeah,
that was kind of like the idea with it, and just to, I don't know, we're moving in a new direction. We're still being authentic.
If you guys hear the
ourselves.
cat, he's outside and he's asking to come in, just in case anybody hears him.
Oh no, poor Buddha.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so we're gonna sign off here, but thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the support you guys have given us up till now. We really appreciate it. It's hard to put into words, like your messages and people contacting us, and it's just beautiful, and we feel like we have like a little family. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and we hope you continue on this journey with us. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week with a new episode.
Thank you.